A debate broke out at Wednesday's City Council meeting in Hoboken over the proposed use of taxpayer money for open space. Councilman at Large Peter Cammarano joins me now with the details. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Sherry. Nice to be here again.
What exactly happened last night?
There was a debate over a proposal to modify a ballot question that's going to go to the voters in Hoboken on the ballot this November.
What is the ballot question?
The ballot question is whether or not it's a yes or no vote, up or down, on whether or not to dedicate 2 cents, an additional 2 cents of every $100 of assessed value of property tax in the city towards a dedicated open space fund. The way the resolution was passed when we did it 2 months ago, several meetings ago, was to just say yes or no, do we want to impose this additional 2 cents of tax on every $100 of assessed value, dedicated for open space without really much of a focus on what it can be used for, whether it's acquisition, development, refurbishment, maintenance, whatever the case may be. The proposal last night was to kind of focus in the uses that this dedicated tax could be used for, the 2 cents for every $100 of assessed value. And what it intended to do was to try and dedicate the lion's share of the tax that gets collected for acquisition only. So only acquisition of open space or paying down the debt on indebtedness bonds that are used to acquire new open space.
Not maintenance.
Not maintenance. Not maintenance. It was very clear that the vast majority of this tax would only go towards acquisition. What I personally found objectionable about the proposed amendment to the ballot question was that if you look at the city of Hoboken in total, there's very few places left. All sides agree on this. There's very few places left where acquisition of open space is possible. Acquisition of really any meaningful amounts of acreage is possible. So knowing that those areas are isolated in certain parts of the town, and namely it's in the 4th Ward, in the 5th Ward, and a little bit in the 2nd Ward, the other wards that already have existing open space, the 6th Ward, the 1st Ward, those places are not going to be able to take advantage of this tax money at all. And in fact, we'd be tying the city council's hands, tying the city's hands in terms of the money that can be spent on this. So for instance, somebody who wants to buy the Cognis site in the 5th Ward would be able to have access to this open space fund. However, if Councilman Giacchi or whoever else is the councilman in the 6th Ward at the time needs money for the refurbishment of Church Square Park, or for the Little League field, or for the Sinatra Park soccer field, that money would not be available at all. Categorically, it's not available for the maintenance of that for that open space, whether it's...
So you're thinking that wouldn't be fair?
It's not fair. What I had said last night, that it's not fair, it's not equitable, and it's not right to lay a tax that's going to have citywide application. Every single homeowner is going to have to, every single property taxpayer is going to have to pay this tax. But at the same time, we wouldn't be distributing this tax fairly across the entire city. It was an attempt to try and focus it in on just a few areas where acquisition is still possible, and the rest of the places that have had parks already built and already acquired long ago, they're sort of going to be left by the wayside in terms of having access to these funds. And I just didn't think, the way I looked at it was that if you're a ward council person and this kind of measure is going to benefit your ward, then that's all fine and well. And that's what ward council persons are there to do. They're there to represent their ward's interests. I have a citywide constituency, and I have to be concerned about the equity that is going to be seen across the city. I need to be able to represent the entire city and not just be concerned about whether one neighborhood's going to benefit over the other. I'm trying to do what is just and equitable in all circumstances, and I just thought it wouldn't be fair to impose this tax across the board, but then only have the benefit of it apply to half the city or 1/3 of the city.
So what happened exactly? What was the conclusion?
It was very curious, actually, Sherry. It was we had an hour-long debate. It was a lot of public speakers. And a lot of back and forth among the council members over this question, over this proposed resolution. And ultimately, after at least an hour of debate, it was withdrawn by its sponsors.
things are back to normal.
Things are right back to where they were when we voted on the original resolution a couple of months ago. The ballot question is going to go on to the voters in the November general election, and it's going to be an up or down vote, yes or no, on do we impose this 2 cents of every $100 of assessed value for an open space dedicated fund for open space. The exact contours of what those funds are going to be used for is left undefined, as I think it should be left undefined. It's a question that, sort of like a public school budget question. You just vote on the total amount. Exactly how that amount gets actually used in terms of expenditures, what are you spending it on, what are the priorities, those are policy determinations that I think the governing body needs to make once they've taken the authority upon themselves to impose that tax.
Well, thank you very much for joining me here today to talk about this.
Thanks again, Sherry.